You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters. Well, this is pretty interesting. Now, Mychal Thompson has never been shy about his Caitlin Clark fandom, nor is he during one of the things we're going to take a look at. But this time it goes a little deeper. He was very critical of the fact that Caitlin Clark was not put on the Olympic team last year, and her being snubbed. Now, in case you're like, Mychal Thompson, why does that seem familiar? Well, if you're an old guy like me, you watched him play, all right? He's Klay Thompson's father. He's also a two-time NBA champion, played for the Trailblazers and the Lakers. He's a big Caitlin Clark fan. But not only did he praise Caitlin Clark in this interview with Outkick, but he went a little further, and this time he crushed the haters in the WNBA, the actual players that we call out on this channel all the time. He's actually come up with a nice little acronym for them. And it's a lot of the things, it resonates with a lot of the things that we say on this very channel. Let's start with just the general fan that he is of Caitlin Clark right here.
Damn near half the crowd would cheer when they scored. Is this everywhere?
I don't care. When I was in Indy, I didn't care about that. The only thing I remember about Indy is when I was leaving Cambridge Arena in a loading dock, Caitlin Clark walked right by me, and I froze. I didn't say hello to her. How about that? My favorite basketball player outside of Clay was right there in front of me. There she was, and I said, no, I can't do it. But getting back to your question, you're right. That's what I remember most about Indiana. Caitlin Clark is right there next to me.
Okay, so his favorite basketball player outside of his son is Caitlin Clark. He was afraid to talk to her. I mean, number one overall draft pick in 1978. That's wild that it's been that long. I mean, it's because, like I said, I fully remember watching Mychal Thompson play. This can't be correct. That's a black man. What the F? I didn't know he was the number one overall pick. That's right. He was. He was a hell of a ball player. If I remember correctly, he was one of these 14-7 guys. All right. 14 points a game, 7 rebounds a game. All right. That was Mychal Thompson's game. Now, Klay Thompson, of course, he's going to walk into the Basketball Hall of Fame, especially after that big run with the Golden State Warriors, right? And you know, his dad was more of a big, whereas Klay's a shooter, three-point sniper, all that kind of thing. So that wasn't all he had to say here. Oh, and the WNBA, I can't wait to hear insert media member here who calls him out, or some pundit that gets upset, some triggered social justice war. I mean, I'm just being real here. All right, some activist basketball fan. I can't wait for them to try to come after Mychal Thompson about these comments. But he's giving them an acronym. You see it right there. NBA champion calls out Caitlin Clark, WNBA peer jealousy with Jeep acronym. Well, he calls them out right here. Many women's basketball fans and pundits believe that Clark has been subject to overly physical treatment by peers during games. And to explain this, it has been asserted that this is owed to Caitlin Clark's popularity, which has led to jealousy and envy from league veterans who don't have nearly the same spotlight that the 23-year-old former Iowa Hawkeyes icon does. Another person who thinks the same thing is two-time NBA champion Mychal Thompson, who is the father of basketball legend Klay Thompson. During a recent interview with Outkick, Thompson, who's a massive Clark fan, revealed his fitting acronym he coined to call out these peers, these WNBA peers, these fellow players of Caitlin Clark. Quote, "They don't like Caitlin Clark." Wow. And look, here's the deal. You think with Mychal Thompson being around these NBA arenas, being around these arenas where these players play, his son plays, yada, yada, you don't think he hears and knows things? Of course he does. And not only that, but there's no telling who he knows that's part of the media as well. I mean, he was on with Dan Dockage, who has, been up and around that area. They don't like Caitlin Clark, Thompson said of WNBA players, per expose from @draft, blah, 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 a bunch of numbers. I've been following her career since she was a sophomore at Iowa. I recognized how different she was, how different she played the game. She played the game like Steph Curry. What have you heard me say on this channel? If you've been subscribed to this channel since, March, February of last year, and followed any of this Caitlin Clark stuff, I've said she's the hybrid love child of who? Larry Bird and Steph Curry. All right? And so I'm not the only one that feels like there's some real Steph Curry there. He later added, now that she's in the WNBA, I'll tell you, she needs a Jeep endorsement, a commercial, because Jeep is the acronym that I've come up with for the way she has been treated and not welcomed in the WNBA. Jeep, the acronym is Jeep, JEEP, and it stands for jealousy, envy, egos, and pettiness, Mychal Thompson said. Goes on to say, they hope that the Jeep acronym can be left in 2024. I think we already know it will not, unfortunately, be left in 2024. I would be shocked if there's a real difference. And you're going to know whether or not the NBA, Adam Silver, Kathy Engelbert, see if she's got any value. You're going to know if the league has gotten involved and talked to these players about what went on last year and whether or not they've been told, you got to cut that shit out. All right? This league is valued at less than the Mendoza line, which is 0. If she is not playing, if she gets injured, this whole thing, all this growth, all this attendance, ratings, all of it, gate revenue goes down the toilet without this young lady being available to play in actual basketball games. All right? Remember, I haven't brought this up in a while either. There was starting to be a movement towards boycotting the WNBA last year. As she was getting the crap beat out of her during games, you were starting to see fans go, I don't know how much longer I'm watching this. I don't know how much longer I want my kids to see their hero get the crap kicked out of them on a basketball court. That was starting to be a narrative. Now, it never, people have said, well, they talked about boycotting because of her fans, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they say because they're the minority now. Her fans, if she gets hurt, I would call this, if she gets hurt, there will be an active, if she gets hurt by way of somebody hurting her, another clothesline from hell, forearm shiver, another run across the court, sticking her like Diamond DeShields did, Chennedy Carter, yada, 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 Angel Reese, clothesline from hell. If she gets injured from one of these plays and one of these players that we know doesn't like her, I think you will see an active fan boycott while she is injured of all WNBA games while she is out. I think that's very possible. Now, here's the thing. I don't know how you'll be able to tell it because the ratings show nobody was watching those other teams anyway, so they're kind of already boycotting them. So, I don't know how that would work. That's interesting. A former NBA player just coming right out, calling these WNBA players out. for their hate of Caitlin Clark. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.